Okay, once the positioning spacer is complete, we are going to put it into the sheet layout. So I'm going to go ahead and copy everything, Control C, go to Control V. Now you're going to find that it's too big to fit in the sheet layout. So we're going to put it off to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and scale it down. So we're going to go to Scale, and the scale factor in this positioning spacer, it needs to be 3/4 scale. So you could type in 3/4, or you could type in 0.75, 3/4 scale. So now we're going to center it. It should fit now. Draw my line on an angle. I'm going to draw an X line since we have irregularly shaped object. Horizontal X line. Let's put 2 going there. Spacebar, repeat last command. Do verticals, 2 verticals. I'm going to draw a line on a diagonal here, and that'll be the center point. So I'll go ahead and delete these lines. Go to Move. Put them in place. Go ahead and delete these lines. Alright, so our positioning spacer is scaled. Notice my scale, 0.75 equals 1 inch. So 3/4 scale. It fits. It's centered. Now we're ready to put center lines and dimensions. So let me go ahead and put my diameter dimensions on first. Let's go diameter here. Bring that out off to the side. Now I want to direct your attention that since we scaled it down, our dimensions are off. So let me put a few more on here. Let me go and put a diameter dimension down here. And notice 0.9375 15/16 is not 1.25 inches. So we want to adjust our dimension style and change our dimension scale, our measurement scale. We'll go to Modify. So in this case here, if we go into Primary Units, Measurement Scale, Scale Factor, it's set to 1 by default. So we scaled it down by 3/4. So we need to do the inverse of that. So I'm simply going to type in, it's easier to do it this way, 4/3, so 4/3. We're just going to do the inverse of 3/4. We'll do 4/3 and see what happens. If you look, we got a diameter of 1, we got a diameter of 1.25, so it is reading correctly now. Now up here, where it says diameter of just 1, we need to add that 2x in there, so we can get away with just putting 1 dimension in. So I'm going to type in here 2x, and that's 2 by diameter of 1, and so then I don't need to put a diameter dimension over here. But I am going to put the radius dimension for the outside radius. So let's go to radius, put that in, and we need to add text to this one as well. We need to come in here, double click on it, and add, as soon as I can get to it, double click on it. It's hard to click on that. I might have to retype the whole thing. So radius 1.25 TYP. And I want to stretch this box out so it's all in one row. Okay? Alright, so let's continue on here. We're going to put some other center lines in here. Let's draw this vertical line in. Draw that vertical line. And since we scaled it in this sheet layout, I can go and just use my 1/4 inch extension there. Down here, I'm going to use my 0.0625 gap. And that'll be good for now. I'd like to still get breaks in there. And let me go ahead and put a line in from this center point. We're going to just go for right now to that center point. Let's do another line from this center point to this center point. Now, here's the thing. I want to extend these lines out further. And more specifically, I want to extend that line 1/4 inch beyond this outside line here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset that outline. I'm going to go to offset. I'm going to go 0.25, and I'm going to select that and offset it out. So watch what I do here. I'm going to go underneath trim. We have a tool called extend. So I'm going to choose these two lines and that outside trim boundary. But I'm going to use it as an extend boundary. So I'm going to click on that line and watch how that happens. See how that extends out to that selected extend boundary? So now I could delete that boundary. Don't forget, delete that out of there. Alright, the next thing that you want to do is we want to put the arc center line in here. And that has a radius of 6 inches, but you have to understand that we scaled this down to 0.75. So what we have to do is we have to figure out what 3/4 of 6 inches is. And all you have to do is simply take 0.75 times 6. And I wanted to show you, you could type in the command line a calculator here, and AutoCAD does have a calculator. So let's type in 0.75 times 6. That gives us 4.5. So that's actually not too bad of a radius for us to key in. So let's go circle center radius, snap to the center, and we're going to go 4.5. So that's the radius that we got to key in, even though we're really, we know that it's a 6-inch radius. Okay. Now, I should have left that trim boundary up before. Let me offset it out again, 0.25, and let's offset that out, and let's do the trim this time. So let's select that to object items here, trim that out. Now let's delete that outline again, and we got those 1/4 inch extensions, which is what we want. I'm going to finish putting some center lines in here down at the bottom. Come in here and just snap to there and do our 1/4 inch overhang, 0.25. Do our 1/16 of an inch gap, 0.0625. Put in on that right side, 0.25, 0.0625 gap. Put it in at the bottom. Same thing, 0.0625 gap, 0.25 overhang. Alright, now I'm going to make a gap here and follow this here. I'm just going to snap my line from diagonal to diagonal, and I'm just going to create a trim boundary here. And what this will do is just give me a little bit of a gap for those center lines that are coming down on the angles. So we have a gap around that, off of that center mark. Alright, now up here, what I need to do, I'm going to do something similar. Let's do an adjustment on the center marks here. That center mark there, I want it to be on the arc and then on this angle. So watch how I do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a box around this center mark, just snapping the endpoints. And then I'm going to go to offset. I'm going to choose an offset distance of 0.0625, hit enter. Now I'm going to offset all of these lines here, 1/16 of an inch. And then that'll provide a trim boundary. This looks kind of crazy, I know. So we're going to trim these lines out here and get our gap. Let's delete these trim lines. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the box. And then what I'm left with here is I still have this center mark here, and that's coming from that dimension. Well, I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm going to right click, go to Properties, and where it says center mark, I'm going to choose none. So now see what I'm left with. I'm left with a nice center mark that's on this arc and on this angle, and we still have our gaps. Do the same thing to the other side. Let's go ahead and box this. Now the sizing probably is not precise, but this is the best way to do this on the fly here. So let's go ahead and offset. Let's offset 1/16 of an inch, 0.0625. And that'll give us our trim boundary. Select everything, just trim this out. Go to delete. Just delete these lines out of here now. Delete our box. Now I'm going to delete, or not delete, but I need to turn off the center mark for the dimension. So you select that and you'll see that the dimension's selected. Go to mark, drop down, choose none. So now you're left with a nice center mark on that arc. So the bottom center mark's good. These top two are fine. Let's put some more dimensions in. So I'm going to go ahead and choose, let me turn this properties off for now. I'm going to choose the angular dimension and watch how this works. I'm going to choose this line, and I'm going to go up just a little bit, and notice I got my 45 degrees. I'm going to do the right side here, and I should get 30 degrees, but I want to snap to the midpoint, and you'll see that it messed up. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to try that again. And whenever you come up, you got to make sure that before I click that I still see the 30 degrees. Okay? Now I need to get rid of that 150 that was put in. So click on that 150 and delete it. Okay. Now we need to put a radius dimension here, and we need a 0.5 aligned dimension across here. Notice we need to put the TYP, so we're going to go ahead and double click on that text, put in 0.75 TYP, and it'll kick that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange it and put it on this side. So I want to go ahead and look and see what all dimensioning I have left to do. I have one more radius dimension to put in right here. Now make sure I'm going to put that radius dimension. I don't want it to be touching or in the way of any other lines. So make sure you kind of slide it out off to the side there. Alright, I'm going to do one last thing. Instead of making you guys put dashes in here and create all these random dashes, I'm going to introduce something you need to follow. So we're going to make this a center line. So what I'm going to have you do with these longer lines that are center lines and we want dashes put in, I want you to direct your attention up here where the properties is at, up on the ribbon. The last one is line type. If you pause on here, it should pop up here, but this is line type. So right now we don't really have any line types in here, so we're going to go to other. We're going to load a couple in here. For now we're just going to load one. So go to load, and we want to find center. Center 2 is the one we want. Center 2. Hit OK. So it loads it in your choices here. So now what we do is we select this line, drop down, and we can make it center 2. And take a look at what happens. It automatically puts the dashes in there for us. So let's click on this arc here, drop down, make it center 2 line type. Click on this one, drop down, center 2 line type, puts the dashes in for us. Click over here, drop down, and we have our center 2 line type. So if I click on this, you'll see that it'll show up over here. If I click on the object, it'll just be, the same by layer, which is our default. Okay? So what you could do is just go to copy existing text, move it up out of the way here, and then we could double click in here, and you need to put a note in here that rounds and fillets equal a radius of 0.5 inches. Put a space there. Okay, rounds and fillets equal radius of 0.5. Then I'm going to copy this text again and put it over on the right side, and this is where I want you to put your area calculation. So make sure you do your area calculation in square inches and put it in right here, whatever you calculated. Make sure you calculate it before you scale it. Okay, so that should be everything for the positioning spacer. Make sure you save it as positioning spacer underscore your last name whenever you have it in the sheet layout. All the title block stuff's updated, all your notations are in, all your dimensioning is completed, and make sure you put your dashes in for your center lines, and that should be it. Thank you for watching this video on the positioning spacer.